My friends, let me begin with a simple observation. Most people are not failing because they lack potential. No, potential is rarely the problem. The real issue is that their lives are scattered goals, scattered habits, scattered attention. It's hard to build anything great when every piece of your life is in a different place, pulling you in a dozen directions. You've got dreams on scraps of paper, ambitions trapped in forgotten notebooks, reminders hidden in apps you don't even open anymore. It's chaos disguised as effort. And let me tell you, chaos has never built a disciplined life. You see, the modern world has made it easier than ever to get distracted and harder than ever to stay consistent. Most people wake up reacting to messages, reacting to problems, reacting to whatever demands their attention first. And if you live your life in reaction, you'll never live your life with intention. You'll always feel behind, always catching up, always frustrated that the results don't match the effort. But the truth is simple. You cannot design a powerful life in a disorganized environment. You need structure. You need clarity. You need a place where your dreams are not just remembered but managed. That's why today we're talking about what I call a life command center. A central place, physical or digital, where your goals, your habits, your plans, your reflections, and your responsibilities all come together. A place where you stop drifting and start directing. A place that keeps you consistent, not because you're motivated every day, but because your environment pulls you in the right direction. See, motivation is fickle, but structure is faithful. But to build this command center, you must understand the philosophy behind it. And that philosophy is simple. Life is a ledger, not a wish list, not a hope, not a random swirl of events. A ledger where every action is recorded and everything counts. Every discipline is a deposit. Every neglect is a debit. Every choice moves you forward or pulls you back. And whether you check it or not, the ledger is always running. So if your life feels chaotic, out of balance, or inconsistent, don't blame your character. Don't blame your personality. Don't even blame your past. Blame the missing structure. Blame the absence of a system that keeps your habits aligned with your goals. My friends, when you organize your environment, you organize your future. When you build your command center, you finally give your life a headquarters instead of a battlefield. And over the next sections, I'm going to show you how to build that system step by step, the way a wise accountant would set up the books for a business with unlimited potential. But before we can build it, we must understand the ledger itself and what it means to take full responsibility for the numbers. My friends, before we build anything, before we create systems, routines, or command centers, we must understand the foundation beneath it all. And the foundation is this simple, powerful truth. Your life is a ledger, not a poem, not a mystery, not an accident, a ledger. A place where everything counts. A place where nothing is hidden from the final tally. A precise book of record that never lies, never forgets, and never confuses your intentions with your actions. You see, most people go through life emotionally. They judge their progress by how they feel, not by what they've done. They say, I feel busy, but the ledger shows very little. They say, I meant to start, but the ledger shows zero activity. They say, I'm trying, but the ledger is blank. The ledger doesn't argue. The ledger doesn't soothe. The ledger doesn't negotiate. It just records. And once you understand that, your life changes forever. Let me put it plainly. Discipline is a deposit. Every time you do what you said you would do, you increase your balance. You build confidence. You build competence. You build momentum. And procrastination, that's a debit. Every time you delay, every time you justify, every time you choose comfort over progress, something gets subtracted. You lose time. You lose clarity. You lose belief in yourself. And little by little, your emotional balance starts to mirror your actual balance. Now, here's the challenge. The deposits don't feel dramatic, and the debits don't feel dangerous. Reading 10 pages doesn't feel life-changing. Skipping those pages doesn't feel catastrophic. But let me remind you, it's never the big events that shape your life. It's the small habits compounded over time. What changes a business is not $1 million sale, it's steady sales, small expenses managed well, and consistency in the daily numbers. Life works the same way. And here's the great insight. The ledger is neutral. It doesn't play favorites. It doesn't reward talent or punish weakness. It rewards consistency and punishes neglect. It responds to discipline the same way it responds to excuses, by recording the truth. Whether you are young or old, rich or poor, starting fresh or starting over, the ledger treats every one of us the same. That's what makes it fair. And that's what makes it powerful. Most people never succeed because they never look at their ledger. They live from emotion instead of evaluation. They rely on hope instead of measurement. And hope, my friends, is a poor accountant. You cannot build a life on, "I hope so." You build it on daily actions. You build it on daily records. You build it by taking responsibility for the numbers that represent your character, your habits, your future. So let me ask you, what have your habits been depositing? What have your distractions been withdrawing? What's the balance of your health, your knowledge, your relationships, your finances? Don't answer emotionally, answer mathematically. Because once you know the numbers, you know the truth. And once you know the truth, you can finally begin to change. Now that we understand the ledger, we must do something most people avoid, most people fear, and most people desperately need. We must examine the books. We must conduct an audit, not to feel guilty, but to gain clarity. My friends, once you understand that life is a ledger, the next step is unavoidable. You must look at the books. You must open the pages. You must examine the truth. And let me tell you, this is where most people stop, not because they lack intelligence, not because they lack ambition, but because they are afraid of what they'll see. They fear the numbers. They fear the imbalance. They fear the undeniable evidence of habits they hoped no one, not even themselves, would notice. But remember, you cannot change what you refuse to examine. A business that never checks its books is a business headed for bankruptcy. It doesn't matter how good the intentions are. It doesn't matter how friendly the staff is. If the books are mismanaged, the future is in danger. And the same is true for your life. You can be kind, talented, sincere, but if you never audit your habits, you will always wonder why your results don't match your potential. So let's begin the audit. Not with judgment, not with guilt, with honesty. Cold, clean honesty, the kind that liberates, not condemns. Because the purpose of the audit is not to punish you. The purpose is to wake you up, to give you the information you need to make a proper decision about the direction of your life. Start with 3 simple questions. First, what are your top 3 deposits? Not the things you wish you were doing, but the things you truly do. The habits that add value to your day, strengthen your mind, build your future. Maybe it's reading. Maybe it's exercise. Maybe it's planning. These are assets. Acknowledge them. Second, what are your top 3 debits? The quiet drains, the sneaky habits, the little indulgences that pull your balance down. Maybe it's procrastination. Maybe it's social media. Maybe it's staying up late for no reason at all. Don't excuse them. Don't soften them. Just name them. Once named, they lose 90% of their power. Third, where have you been pretending? Yes, pretending. Pretending you're working hard. Pretending you're trying. Pretending you'll start soon. Every one of us has an area where we're performing the motions instead of the mission. Identifying that place is the beginning of transformation. The ledger doesn't change when you pretend. It changes when you get honest. And while you're doing this audit, don't forget to look at your wins. You see, an audit is not just about losses. It's about clarity. It's about seeing what's working as well as what isn't. If you've been improving, celebrate it. If you've been drifting, interrupt it. If you've been avoiding, expose it. Let me tell you something powerful. Clarity is the birthplace of discipline. Clarity is the foundation of progress. Clarity is the invitation to a new life. Once you examine the ledger, you can finally stop guessing and start growing. Once you see the imbalance, you can finally begin correcting it. Once you face the truth, you can finally write a new story. And now that the books are open, now that the truth is on the table, It's time to create the structure that will keep your life in order. Not once in a while. Every day, consistently, intentionally, like a true manager of your own potential. My friends, once you've examined the ledger, once you've faced the truth of your deposits and debits, the next step is to create an environment that supports your future instead of sabotaging it. Because no matter how strong your willpower is, you will always struggle if your surroundings are working against you. You can't plant seeds in rocky soil and expect a harvest. And you can't build a disciplined life inside a disorganized world. What you need is a life command center, a headquarters for your goals, a home for your habits, a dashboard for your progress, a space where your future is not abstract, but visible. Let me tell you the principle behind this. Your environment is more powerful than your motivation. Motivation comes and goes, but structure stays. A well-built environment quietly pulls you forward, even on the days you don't feel like moving. So let's design an environment that does its job. Every command center has 6 essential components. Think of them as the pillars of a structured, intentional life. 1. The vision board, a clear picture of your destination. Your goals must be visible, not hidden in a drawer, not buried in your phone, not forgotten in last year's notebook. Visible. Why? Because what you see daily, you move toward daily. Goals are seeds, and seeds grow only when tended. A good vision board answers 3 questions. What do I want? Why do I want it? Who must I become to achieve it? Put it where your eyes can't ignore it. Out of sight, out of mind. In sight, in progress. 2. The habit ledger, your daily accounting system. This is the heart of the command center. This is where you track your daily deposits and debits. Not emotionally, mathematically. Create 2 simple columns. Deposits, reading, exercise, planning, learning, consistency. Debits. Procrastination, excuses, wasted time, broken promises to yourself. You don't need a fancy app. A notebook will do. A sheet of paper will do. What matters is that you track it, because what gets measured gets improved. 3. The daily schedule, your battle plan for the day. Your day should not start in confusion. Your day should start with direction. Here's the rule. Plan your day before the day begins. Schedule the essentials. Decide your priorities. Mark your non-negotiables. Prepare your evening routine. A good plan eliminates 1,000 temptations. A good plan protects your energy. A good plan keeps you in motion even when your emotions waver. 4. The learning shelf, your personal growth arsenal. Next, your command center must have a place dedicated to learning. Books, podcasts, notes, courses. Whatever grows your mind should have a home. Why? Because your mind responds to what you feed it. And if your learning is scattered, your thinking will be scattered. Choose 5 books, no more. Place them visibly. Keep your notes organized. Let your environment remind you, your mind is an asset that requires investment. 5. The health and energy corner, your personal fuel station. Your body funds your ambitions. It's hard to think clearly when you're tired. It's hard to dream big when you lack energy. Create a space, however small, where your health is supported. It might include workout gear, a water bottle, vitamins, a simple exercise plan, a step tracker, a journal for sleep and nutrition. A strong body strengthens your will. A weak body weakens your discipline. 6. The project dashboard clarity on what you're building. Every month, every week, every day, you need clarity. Not 10 projects at once. Not a mountain of overwhelm. Just the next major priorities. List your top 3 projects. Define the next steps. Set simple, clear deadlines. Review weekly. When your projects are visible, your mind stops worrying and starts working. Now, some people create their command center with paper and pen. Some use a wall grid or whiteboard. Some use digital tools, Notion, Google Docs, even a simple folder on their phone. And some use a hybrid system. There's no right answer. Only this rule. Your command center must be accessible, visible, and easy to maintain, because once it's built, you will no longer rely on motivation. Your environment will guide you. Your systems will support you. Your command center will anchor you. And now that the structure is in place, it's time to fill it with something even more powerful than planning the daily deposits that build a life of discipline. My friends, once your life command center is built, once you've created the structure, the environment, the system, the next step is to feed that system with the kind of habits that quietly build a remarkable life. And let me tell you the truth. You don't need dramatic habits. You need daily deposits. You see, most people think success requires intensity, but Jim Rohn would tell you success requires consistency. And consistency is simply the result of small disciplines practiced every single day. Let me say it plainly. It's not what you do once in a while that shapes your life. It's what you do consistently. So what are the daily deposits that belong in your command center? Let me give you the most powerful ones, simple enough to start today, strong enough to change your future. 1. Read 10 pages a day. A small deposit with giant returns. 10 pages won't overwhelm you. 10 pages won't exhaust you. But 10 pages every day for a year, that's a dozen books, a dozen new ideas, a dozen new perspectives. Reading is a deposit into your mind, your greatest asset. And the habit compounds. You grow when you read. You shrink when you ignore your mind. 2, plan your day, one of the most valuable deposits of all. Take 5 minutes, just 5, and outline your day. Your top priorities, your key tasks, your non-negotiables. A planned day creates discipline. An unplanned day creates drift. 3, move your body, the deposit that fuels every other deposit. You don't need an hour. You don't need a gym. You don't need perfection. 20 minutes of walking. A few sets of push-ups, stretching, breathing, movement. Energy is the foundation of discipline. Without energy, even your best intentions fall flat. 4, learn one new idea. Keep your mind sharp and hungry. A podcast, a course, a short video that teaches you something useful. When you stop learning, you stop growing. And when you stop growing, you stop leading your own life. 5, review your goals. Keep your future in view. Every morning, glance at your goals. Every evening, reflect on your progress. Reviewing your goals is like adjusting your compass. Tiny corrections keep you on course. Tiny neglects pull you off course. 6, track your money. A practical, powerful deposit. Don't let your finances live in the dark. Spend with intention. Save with clarity. Review your accounts like a good manager reviews the books. Money flows toward people who pay attention. It runs away from people who ignore it. 7, journal 3 lines, the deposit that builds self-awareness. 3 lines, not a novel, not a confession, just 3 honest lines about your day. What went well? What didn't? What needs improvement? Journaling is not for the world, it's for you. It shines a light on patterns you can't see in the moment. Now here's the beauty of these deposits. Individually, they are small. Repeated daily, they are unstoppable. 10 pages a day won't make you wise overnight. 20 minutes of movement won't transform your health tomorrow. Reviewing your goals won't create a miracle by the weekend. But over time, my friends, over time they compound. They multiply. They build momentum. They build identity. You go from trying to be disciplined to becoming a disciplined person. And that is the true secret of consistency. Small disciplines practiced daily become lifelong strengths. Small deposits made consistently become compounded success. And now that we've talked about the deposits that build your future, we must talk about the other side of the ledger, the hidden debits that quietly destroy it. My friends, we've talked about the deposits, the small daily disciplines that build your life, your character, your confidence. But now we must turn the page and examine something far more subtle and far more dangerous, the hidden debits. The quiet habits that drain your account when you're not paying attention. Because remember, the ledger doesn't only record the steps you take forward, it also records the steps you take backward. And here's the truth. Most people are not defeated by giant mistakes. They are defeated by small neglects. Not the mountain that stops you, but the pebble in your shoe. Not the catastrophe, but the quiet leak in the ship. Not the big failure, but the daily unnoticed withdrawal. So let's shine a light on these debits. Once you see them clearly, they lose their power. 1. Procrastination, the master thief of potential. Procrastination rarely arrives loudly. It whispers, I'll start tomorrow. I'll do it later. I'm not ready yet. But every time you delay, the ledger records a debit. Not because of the task you avoided, but because of the belief you weakened. Every delay says to yourself, I don't keep my word. That is a costly debit. 2. Wasted time, the silent erosion of your future. 5 minutes scrolling, 10 minutes drifting, 20 minutes chasing distractions. Individually insignificant, accumulated, disastrous. Lost time is like compounding interest. In reverse, time wasted today becomes regret tomorrow. 3. The excuse habit, emotional justification, masquerading as logic. I've always been this way. It's not the right time. It's just who I am. Excuses are emotional stories that drain your courage. They subtract belief. They subtract discipline. They subtract opportunity. And the dangerous part? They sound reasonable, but the ledger doesn't track reason, it tracks reality. 4. Gossip and negativity, mental debits disguised as entertainment. A little complaint here, a little criticism there. A negative conversation that feels harmless, but every time you participate, you drain your emotional account. Negativity is expensive. It costs you influence, relationships, credibility, and peace of mind. Your language reveals your future. Choose carefully. 5. Clutter, physical proof of mental drift. A messy desk, a chaotic room, a sloppy workspace. These aren't just signs of disorder, they are causes of it. Clutter steals your focus. Clutter blurs your priorities. Clutter subtracts energy you didn't know you were losing. Your environment is a reflection of your habits, and your habits are a reflection of your environment. 6. Broken promises to yourself, the most expensive debit of all. When you tell yourself, I'll wake up early, I'll start the project, I'll stick to the plan, and you don't follow through, something is withdrawn from your internal bank. Not money, trust. Not time, belief. And when belief drops low enough, discipline becomes impossible. Because no one follows a leader they don't trust, not even you. Now, here's the real danger of debits. Debits compound faster than deposits. A little neglect today, a little carelessness tomorrow. And suddenly, the deficit feels too large to overcome. But there is good news. You can interrupt the pattern anytime. You can stop the leak. You can seal the cracks. You can close the account of negative habits. Because once you become aware of the debits, truly aware, you automatically begin to change. Awareness weakens the old habits. Structure replaces them. Discipline overrides them. And your command center keeps you accountable. Now that we've exposed the drains on your account, it's time to talk about the rhythm that keeps you balanced. The weekly and monthly reviews that act as your personal audit. My friends, once you're aware of your deposits and your debits, once you've built your command center and started living with intention, there is one more discipline that elevates everything. The habit of reviewing your life on a consistent schedule. What I call the gentle audit. You see, growth is not automatic. Progress is not guaranteed. Discipline does not sustain itself. If success were automatic, everyone would have it. But success belongs to the few who review, reflect, and redirect. Let me remind you, a life examined weekly becomes a life corrected before it collapses. A life examined monthly becomes a life improved before it drifts. The review keeps you honest. The review keeps you awake. The review keeps you in charge. So let me show you how the weekly and monthly audits work. Simple, powerful, and deeply transformative. The weekly review, 15 to 20 minutes of pure clarity. Set aside one moment each week, Sunday evening, perhaps, or Monday morning. Doesn't matter when. What matters is that it's consistent every week without negotiation. During your weekly review, you ask 5 questions. 1. What were my top deposits this week? Celebrate them, count them, recognize the progress. Success loves recognition. 2. What were my top debits this week? Not to shame yourself, but to see clearly where you drift. Awareness is the beginning of correction. 3. What moved me closer to my goals? Maybe it was a conversation, maybe a small action, maybe a breakthrough idea. Track it. Reinforce it. 4. What pulled me away from my goals? A distraction? A habit? A mindset? Identify it and plan to interrupt it. 5. What are my priorities for next week? Not 10 priorities, 3. 3 meaningful steps that move the needle. Clarity creates momentum. This is the weekly reset, the weekly course correction. It's how you stop small problems from becoming large ones. It's how you align your effort with your intention. The monthly review, 45 to 60 minutes of renewed direction. The monthly review is deeper, richer, more strategic. It's not just about your habits. It's about your trajectory. Once a month, you step back and examine your life from a higher altitude. 1. Review your goals. Are you closer, stuck, drifting, or surprising yourself? 2. Update your habit ledger. What habits are strong? What habits are weak? What habits need replacing? 3. Evaluate your systems. Are your routines supporting your goals? Is your environment helping or hurting? Is your command center still organized? Or has chaos started to return? 4. Identify patterns. What keeps repeating? What keeps improving? What keeps sabotaging your progress? 5. Plan your next month, not with emotion, with calculation, like a CEO preparing the quarterly plan. You refine your goals, refresh your projects, rebuild your priorities, renew your disciplines. My friends, the monthly review is where wisdom replaces guesswork, where clarity silences confusion, where intention replaces hope, where discipline becomes lifestyle. People who drift never review. People who grow review repeatedly. A review is not a judgment, it's an alignment, a reminder, a recalibration, a fresh focus on what matters most. And with each review, something powerful happens. You evolve. Your identity deepens. Your direction sharpens. Your consistency strengthens. And speaking of identity, that brings us to the next part. Perhaps the most important shift of all. It's not enough to act disciplined. At some point, you must become disciplined, not trying to be consistent, but becoming the kind of person for whom consistency is natural. My friends, habits are powerful. Systems are powerful. A command center is powerful. But none of these tools matter unless they ultimately shape the most important thing you possess, your identity. Because the goal is not merely to do disciplined actions. The goal is to become a disciplined person. The goal is not simply to track good habits. The goal is to become the kind of person for whom good habits feel natural. That's the shift. That's the transformation. That's where consistency stops being a struggle and becomes a lifestyle. You see, every deposit you make, every small act of discipline is not just adding to your ledger, it's adding to your identity. It whispers a quiet message. I'm the kind of person who shows up. I'm the kind of person who finishes what I start. I'm the kind of person who keeps promises to myself. And identity, once established, becomes a force. It becomes momentum. It becomes self-reinforcement. Let me tell you a simple principle. Behavior shapes identity, and identity shapes behavior. Do the right behaviors long enough, and they create a new identity. And once the identity takes root, it becomes easier, almost inevitable, to keep repeating the behaviors. Think about momentum. Momentum is created by small wins, not heroic moments, daily victories. The 10 pages read, the morning walk completed, the plan written, the ledger reviewed, the discipline practiced. Each one builds confidence, and confidence builds more discipline, and discipline creates more confidence. It becomes a cycle of strength. But here's the beauty. Momentum doesn't feel like intensity. Momentum feels like ease. It feels like flow. It feels like you're finally working with yourself, not against yourself. And this is where people misunderstand success. They think successful people possess more willpower. No, successful people design systems that make willpower unnecessary. They become the kind of person who simply does the work, not because it's glamorous, not because it's exciting, but because it's who they are. Identity makes discipline automatic. Identity makes habits sticky. Identity makes consistency sustainable. And here's how identity forms. 3 simple phases. 1, you ACT like the person you want to become. You behave your way into a new identity. You act disciplined before you feel disciplined. You act organized before you feel organized. You act confident before confidence arrives. Action comes first. Feeling follows. Identity forms later. 2, you prove it to yourself with repetition. 1 deposit is a good start. 10 deposits create hope. 100 deposits create belief. 1,000 deposits create identity. Repetition reinforces your story. 3, you embody the role. One day you wake up and something incredible happens. You no longer have to force the behavior. It's automatic. It's natural. It's who you are. Your mind says, this is me now, and the ledger reflects it. Momentum becomes your partner. Discipline becomes your default. Consistency becomes your character. And when you reach this point, when identity shifts from intention to embodiment, you no longer fear losing discipline. You've built a foundation too strong to collapse. You've become the kind of person who checks the ledger every day without fail. And now, my friends, with this identity in place, we can arrive at the final chapter, the closing reminder that brings the entire journey together. My friends, as we come to the close of this lesson, let me leave you with one final truth. Simple, sobering, and wonderfully empowering. The ledger of your life is always open. Always. It does not sleep. It does not pause. It does not skip a day because you were tired or overwhelmed or uninspired. Every choice, every habit, every moment is recorded. And whether you choose to look at that ledger or not, it keeps adding up. But here is the great news. Here is the liberating, life-changing insight. Every day is a fresh page. The ledger does not care what you did last year. It does not care what you failed to do last month. It does not care how inconsistent you were yesterday. All it cares about is today, today's deposits, today's discipline, today's choices. If yesterday was a day of debits, turn the page. If last week was a week adrift, turn the page. If the last decade was a decade of regret, my friends, turn the page. The next deposit you make can begin a new chapter in your life. You now have the tools, a command center to organize your world, a habit ledger to guide your behavior, a daily system to keep you focused, a review process to keep you aligned, and an identity built on discipline rather than emotion. You are no longer drifting. You are designing. You are no longer reacting. You are directing. You are no longer waiting. You are building. And what are you building? Not just habits, not just routines, not just progress. You are building a life, a surplus of wisdom, a surplus of character, a surplus of kindness, a surplus of discipline, a surplus of experiences, relationships, and opportunities, because the true wealth of life does not come from your bank balance. It comes from your habit balance. It comes from the accumulation of small disciplines performed faithfully, consistently, quietly, long before anyone applauds. So tonight, before your head hits the pillow, ask yourself one question, just one. What deposit did I make today? And tomorrow, ask it again. And the next day, and the next. Because the person who makes daily deposits will one day wake up rich in confidence, in clarity, in opportunities, in results, and in life. Remember, you don't build a great life by accident. You build it by design. You build it by discipline. You build it by checking the ledger, one day at a time. My friends, the best of your life is still ahead. Not because life will hand it to you, but because you now know how to earn it. Deposit by deposit, day by day, choice by choice. The ledger is open. The pen is in your hand. Write wisely, write consistently, and write a life worth remembering.